a troublemaker, girl.
Welcome to Smart Life. I'm Dr. Gina. Confucius says that if you plan to take revenge, you had better dig 2 graves. Revenge, just the word creates a chemical and metabolic reaction that is palpable in most people. Our heart rate goes up. We actually salivate, believe it or not, when we think of taking revenge. There's a reason why we love the idea of revenge, because everyone has been wronged. It is the human condition that we hurt one another sometimes, and it's our fiber to crave justice, especially when we're the one hurt. But does revenge help you? The answer sort of lies in which aspect of revenge psychologists study. The idea of revenge, the planning, the pondering, the imagining, all those things stimulate oxygen flow to the dorsal striatum. It's a part of the brain that manages enjoyment and satisfaction. According to National Geographic, the enjoyment comes from a kind of anticipated satisfaction about punishing those who've broken the social norms. I call it the justice factor. The problem comes, though, when carrying out the revenge. Aside from the possible fallout from the revenge actions taken, research indicates that revenge might not be so pleasurable after the initial planning stages. Psychology Today says that people who have been hurt or betrayed believe that if the other party suffers, then they will feel better, that their emotional pain will lessen. But they say the data actually proves the contrary. Kevin Carl Smith and his colleagues set up an experiment to test the after effects of revenge, and their findings were actually a little surprising. Students who got revenge felt worse than those who didn't, but they believed that they would have felt even worse if they didn't get the revenge. So that's the interesting part. The obvious question is, why is this? Carl Smith said that ruminations might be the reason. When we don't get revenge, our brains are able to sort of trivialize the hurtful event by seeing it as a past event that must not have been such a big deal because they didn't act on it with revenge. If we do get revenge, though, our brains can no longer marginalize that event, and instead we tend to mentally ruminate on it, reliving the event over and over, thereby letting it take up much more real estate in our minds. The enemy occupying your brain to a larger degree is probably the last thing you intended when you sought that revenge, right? So often that's the case. When is revenge really necessary? Because sometimes experts say it is. The bully on the proverbial playground may require a punch back, for example. I always tell my children, don't start a fight, but finish it strong. I believe that, and I believe that carries into life, sadly. I grapple with revenge often. In my business, trust is a commodity, and revenge is best served slimy, especially when you've got the goods. And for some reason, it always seems like I find them. Why is that? Cheryl Kaiser from the University of Michigan says that the more people believe in a just world before an injustice occurs, the more distress they experience when they see an injustice. She studied people beforehand and after the tragedies of 9/11. She also uses the events of 9/11 to explain the cycle of revenge. Usually when one feels wronged and takes revenge, the receiver of the revenge believes the revenge was excessive and seeks their own re-revenge, if you will. As in 9/11, the moment bin Laden was killed in revenge for the American deaths, the terrorists vowed revenge on that. Psychologists say that most of the time revenge does not teach the offender anything and only serves to further haunt the injured party. Worse, those on the receiving end of the revenge rarely get the message or change their behavior. Researchers say revenge is only successful if the receiver knows why the act of vengeance has occurred. They say it is less risky to your emotional health to instead practice radical acceptance. Simply know that some people are going to break your trust and that it says more about them than it does you. Your response is only about you. Therefore, you'll need to integrate into your conscience whatever it is you choose to do in reaction to the betrayal.